Welcome back to my channel. They say old is gold, but in the world of rare coins, some quarters are worth far more than gold itself. Today, we're uncovering Washington quarters and U.S. state quarters that could be sitting in your pocket change right now, and some of them are selling for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Don't spend these quarters. They might just be your hidden fortune. Picture this. You're digging through an old box of coins from your grandfather's attic. At first glance, it looks like nothing special. Just another quarter. No mint mark. Nothing unusual. But what if I told you that same quarter could be worth nearly $800,000? Yes, a Washington quarter with no mint mark once sold for an astonishing $796,000 at auction. That's not rumor. That's real numismatic history. Why are some quarters worth so much? The answer is simple. Scarcity plus collector demand equals skyrocketing value. In pristine condition, a bicentennial no-mint mark quarter has sold for nearly $800,000. And as collectors race to secure them, prices continue to climb. Once they disappear into private collections, they rarely ever come back on the market. That's why if you own one, getting it graded could be the difference between pocket change and a life-changing payday. Now let's talk about another jaw-dropping discovery. The 1965 Silver Era Quarter. In 1965, the Mint officially stopped making quarters from silver and switched to copper nickel. But here's the twist. Some 1965 quarters were accidentally struck on leftover silver planchets. They weren't supposed to exist, yet a few slipped out. And today, one of those error quarters sold for an incredible $670,000. Imagine that. An attic cleanup, a handful of old coins, and suddenly you're holding a piece of history worth more than most houses. Why does this matter now? Because the coin market is red hot. Collectors are battling at auctions. Baby boomers are buying back pieces of history, and wealthy investors are treating rare coins as appreciating assets. That means the window of opportunity is shrinking fast. Every day, more rare quarters are being discovered, graded, and locked away forever. Here's your next step. Check your coins carefully, especially quarters from 1965 to 1999 and the early state quarters. Look for unusual errors, missing mint marks, silver planchets, double strikes, misaligned dies. And if you find something, get it graded. Professional grading turns suspicion into certainty, and certainty into maximum value. Final thought. Wealth doesn't always come from working harder. Sometimes it's hiding in plain sight. In your change jar, your dresser drawer, or your grandfather's old collection. So the question is, will you be the one telling the story of how a 25-cent coin changed your life? Or will you watch someone else cash in while you wonder what if? Go check your coins, because the next six-figure quarter might already be in your hands. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, my friends. Today, I have something really exciting for you. Did you know that some of the coins sitting quietly in your pocket or in an old jar at home could actually be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars? That's right, what looks like an ordinary nickel, dime, quarter, or penny might secretly be a hidden treasure. So in this video, we are going to uncover the real value and history behind 5 coins that you should always watch out for. The 1990 D. Jefferson nickel, and at first glance, most people would think it's just a simple nickel worth only 5 cents, but the truth is far more interesting. This coin has hidden potential that can surprise collectors all over the world. The 1990 D nickel was struck at the Denver Mint with hundreds of millions produced, which is why people assume they have no special value. But here's the catch: condition, rarity, and striking details can completely change its worth. Let's talk about the value first, because that's what everyone wants to know. If you pull one of these nickels straight out of circulation in average worn condition, it's usually only worth its face value. But when you find one that has been preserved perfectly since 1990 with sharp details and no signs of wear, things start to get exciting. In mint state condition, these coins can bring anywhere from $10 to $50. And if the nickel has the special full steps strike on Monticello, the building on the reverse, it becomes far rarer. Because a fully struck Monticello with clear steps is extremely hard to find on 1990 nickels, those examples can sell for well over $100 when certified by top grading services. Now, let's go into the history. The Jefferson nickel series began back in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel, and the portrait of Thomas Jefferson was chosen to represent America's third president, while the reverse Design shows his home Monticello. Over the decades, millions of Jefferson nickels were struck, but collectors still look for the small details that separate ordinary from extraordinary. By 1990, the U.S. Mint was striking coins with modern machinery, but weak strikes and overproduction meant that really sharp examples are tough to locate today. This is why collectors prize the 1990D with full steps so highly. It's not about the age of the coin, but about how well it was made and how carefully it survived over 30 years. What makes the 1990D nickel especially interesting is how many people overlook it. Most folks throw it in a change jar, never realizing that a clean example could fetch real money. Imagine going through rolls of nickels and spotting a bright, uncirculated piece with crisp steps on Monticello. You might be holding a coin that grading companies like PCGS or NGC would certify as a top population coin. Those are the ones that can climb into the higher hundreds of dollars at auction. So the lesson here is never underestimate a nickel that looks ordinary. The 1990D Jefferson nickel may be common in number, but rare in perfection, and that's why collectors chase after them. The difference between a coin worth 5 cents and one worth over $100 comes down to condition, eye appeal, and strike detail. This coin is living proof that treasure can still be found in the most unexpected places, like your pocket change. The 1990p Washington quarter from the Philadelphia Mint, and while most people glance at it and assume it's only worth 25 cents, the truth is that this coin can hold some surprising value in the right condition and with the right variety. Let's talk about worth first, because that's what makes this coin so interesting. A regular 1990p quarter in circulated condition is usually only worth its face value, but if you come across one in mint state with razor-sharp details and brilliant luster, collectors are willing to pay anywhere from $5 to $25. Now, if you are lucky enough to find a gem mint state graded MS66 or higher, that price can shoot into the $50 to $150 range. And here's where it gets even better. Error coins and double dies from this year have sold for hundreds of dollars in auctions. Some rare off-center strikes and double-struck examples have even crossed into the $1,000 mark. The history of the Washington quarter makes this coin even more fascinating. The series started way back in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. The original design, by John Flanagan, shows Washington's profile on the front and the eagle on the reverse, which collectors grew to know and love. By the year 1990, this quarter was part of the classic eagle reverse run before the state headquarters took over in 1999, so it belongs to the final decade of the traditional design that circulated for nearly 70 years. That alone makes it a nostalgic collectible piece. Now here's where things get really exciting. The Philadelphia Mint, which struck this coin, had no mint mark in 1990. So when you see a plain 1990 quarter without a letter under the date, you're holding a Philadelphia issue. Because of the huge mintage numbers, you might assume none of these are worth keeping, but the truth is in the details. Some 1990p quarters were struck with weak dies, resulting in blurry details, while others show strong, bold strikes. Those strong strike examples are what collectors chase, especially if they come with proof like surfaces that shine almost like mirror coins. One of the most famous errors tied to this year is the double die variety. If you ever notice thick, clear doubling on the lettering like "In God We Trust" or "Liberty," then you may be holding one of the rarest finds of modern U.S. coinage. Another major category that adds value is off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing because it wasn't properly centered. Those can sell for hundreds. Depending on how dramatic the error is, imagine flipping through a handful of quarters and spotting one where the rim is off balance or the design is cut. That could easily be a hidden treasure. Collectors also pay attention to coins certified by grading companies like PCGS or NGC, because a high-grade 1990p quarter in the top population census can command record prices. The key is eye appeal, sharp detail, and originality. A coin that sat untouched in a bankroll for 3 decades can come out looking brand new, and that's when the value really skyrockets. So when it comes to the 1990p Washington quarter, the lesson is simple: don't just glance and spend it. Check carefully, because a normal-looking coin could actually be hiding a rare variety or high grade that makes it worth much more than pocket change. This coin represents both history and opportunity. It's a bridge between the old eagle reverse design and the upcoming state quarter era, and that's why collectors never overlook it. The 1969 Lincoln Memorial penny, and this is where things get very exciting, because while most people see a 1969 penny as just a single cent in their change jar, the reality is that one small detail can make this coin worth life-changing money. Let's start with the value, because this is what makes coin collectors pay extra close attention. A normal 1969 penny, without any special errors and average circulation condition, is usually worth just 1 cent, maybe a few cents to a dollar if it's uncirculated. But there's a famous error from this year that completely changes everything, and that's the 1969's double die obverse penny. This variety shows dramatic doubling on the words Liberty, Indiana, God We Trust, and the date 1969, and examples have sold for over $100,000 at major coin auctions. The last time one crossed the block certified in high grade, it shocked the coin world with its price tag, and even in lower grades this variety can bring tens of thousands of dollars. Imagine holding a penny that looks like every other one, but realizing it could buy you a brand new car or even a house. Now for the history, this coin is part of the long-running Lincoln Cent series, which began back in 1909 to honor Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday. Originally, the coin featured the wheat reverse, but in 1959, to mark the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, the U.S. Mint introduced the Lincoln Memorial Reverse. This new design by Frank Gasparo shows the famous Washington, D.C. landmark, and it ran all the way until 2008 when the Mint switched to the Lincoln Bicentennial Reverses, so the 1969 penny falls right in the middle of that memorial era. It's a coin that millions of people used every single day, but only a handful of special double die varieties survived to become treasures. What makes the 1969 double die penny even more fascinating is its story. When it was first discovered, collectors thought it was fake because the doubling was so bold it looked like someone had stamped it twice. In reality, it was caused by a hubbing error during the die-making process. The U.S. Secret Service even got involved at one point because they thought counterfeits were circulating, but eventually it was confirmed to be a genuine mint variety, and from then on it became one of the most legendary error coins of the modern era. Even if you don't find the rare double die version, regular 1969 pennies can still be collectible in pristine mint state, especially with strong red color. Collectors like to grade Lincoln Cents by their color designations red, brown, or full red, and a bright red 1969 penny in MS66 or higher can easily bring $50 to $100, which is still a huge return for a single cent pulled from circulation. So here's the takeaway. Whenever you see a 1969 Lincoln penny, especially if it has an S mint mark from San Francisco, look closely at the lettering and the date. Use a magnifying glass, because that one little detail could make you thousands richer. The 1969 penny is proof that even the smallest coin in your pocket can carry an enormous story of history, rarity, and value. The 1946 Lincoln Wheat Penny, and this one carries a lot of history as well as collector interest. At first glance, people think of it as just another old copper cent from the post-World War II years, but when you dig deeper, you realize it's more than just a piece of small change. Let's start with value, because that's always the most exciting part for collectors. In average worn condition, the 1946 wheat penny is worth only a couple of cents since over 1 billion of them were struck, but condition and rarity play the biggest role here. If you manage to find a mint state example with full original red color, it can sell for $5 to $25. Higher grades in MS66 and above can go for $50 to $100, and the top certified examples have sold for even more at auction. But what really excites collectors are the error coins from this year. For example, the 1946 double die and repunched mint mark varieties can bring significant premiums, sometimes hundreds of dollars, depending on the error's strength and the coin's grade. So while the average 1946 penny might not make you rich, a rare error or a flawless gem could still put serious money in your pocket. Now, for the history, this penny was struck right after World War II ended, and that timing gives it extra meaning. During the war years in 1943, the U.S. Mint had switched from copper to steel cents because copper was needed for ammunition and war supplies. By 1944, copper returned, but much of it came from melted down shell casings collected from battlefields. So when you look at a 1946 wheat penny, you're holding a coin made from copper that symbolized America's return to peace and recovery from the war. This makes it not only a collectible coin, but also a little piece of U.S. history preserved in metal. The design itself is the classic wheat penny design that collectors love, introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. The obverse shows his portrait, designed by Victor David Brenner, while the reverse has The two wheat stalks that gave the coin its nickname. This design ran until 1958 when the memorial reverse replaced it, and the 1946 issue sits right in that sweet spot of the wheat cent era where people collected them by the roll hoping they'd be worth more in the future. Another thing collectors watch for with 1946 pennies are the three different mint locations: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver marked with a D; and San Francisco marked with an S. The San Francisco issues are slightly scarcer in high grades, which makes them more valuable for serious collectors. So if you happen to find a 1946 S wheat penny in uncirculated red condition, you could be looking at a coin worth far more than just a cent. What makes the 1946 penny really fun is how accessible it is. Many people still find these in old jars, boxes, and even in circulation occasionally, which means you don't need to spend thousands to get started with collecting a piece of history. Some collectors even build complete sets of wheat pennies, and the 1946 is a must-have for completing that post-war decade. So don't underestimate the 1946 wheat penny. While most are common, the best preserved ones with brilliant red luster, and especially the error varieties, can be worth much more than you'd ever expect from such a small copper coin. It's living history, a reminder of a nation coming out of war and stepping into peace, and that's what makes it a special part of any collection. The 1996 D. Roosevelt dime from the Denver Mint. And while it may look like one of the most ordinary coins still circulating today, the truth is that there are details and varieties with this dime that can turn it into something collectors will pay big money for. Let's start with the value. In typical circulated condition, the 1996 D dime is still worth only 10 cents, just like the day it was minted. However, things change quickly when we talk about mint state examples. A sharp, bright 1996 D dime in uncirculated condition can be worth anywhere from $5 to $20, and if it grades MS66 or MS67 certified by PCGS or NGC, it can reach $50 to $150 or more. And then you have the rare errors, which are where the real excitement is. Certain 1996 D dimes have been found with off-center strikes, broad strikes, double strikes, or full band details on the torch. These full band examples, which show all the horizontal lines on the torch crisply struck, are highly sought after and can command much higher premiums. Serious collectors of Roosevelt dimes often pay strong money for these examples because they are much harder to find than people think. Now, let's talk about the history. The Roosevelt dime was introduced in 1946, the year after President Franklin D. Roosevelt passed away. It replaced the beloved Mercury dime and was designed by John R. Cynic. Roosevelt was chosen because of his leadership through the Great Depression and World War II, but also because of his connection to the March of Dimes campaign, which worked to fight polio. This design has remained on the dime ever since, making it one of the longest-running coin designs in U.S. history. The 1996 issue marks the 50th anniversary of the Roosevelt dime series, and to honor that milestone, the U.S. Mint also struck a special W. Mint marked dime at the West Point Mint, included only in mint sets, making it the first coin ever to carry the W Mint mark. That fact alone makes 1996 an important year for dime collectors. The Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of dimes that year, which is why most people assume the 1996 D dime has no special value. But just like with nickels and quarters, the key is in the condition and the strike. Most coins entered circulation immediately and became worn, but rolls and mint sets preserved some in perfect shape. Those are the coins that bring strong prices today, especially when they display deep luster and sharp detail. Another fascinating part of the 1996 dime story is the collecting community's focus on registry sets. A registry set is when collectors compete to own the finest graded examples of every coin in a particular series. So when someone is building a top-ranked Roosevelt dime set, they will pay a premium for the very best 1996 D dimes in existence. Even if it seems like a common coin to most people, to those collectors, it can be the missing puzzle piece that's worth hundreds of dollars. So the lesson here is clear. The 1996 D dime might look like spare change, but in the right grade with the right details, it can turn into a surprisingly valuable piece. And because it belongs to such an important anniversary year in the Roosevelt dime series, it holds a special place in U.S. coinage history. And that brings us to the end of today's journey through coin value history. We've looked at the 1990D nickel, the 1990p quarter, the 1969 penny, the 1946 wheat penny, and the 1996D dime, coins that might look ordinary in your pocket, but could actually be worth far more than you'd ever expect. The lesson here is simple: always check your change and never overlook the details, because sometimes the smallest coin can carry the biggest surprise. Thank you so much for watching, my friends. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with other coin lovers, and subscribe to my channel for more deep dives into hidden treasures of US coinage. Until next time, keep searching, keep collecting, and maybe the next coin you find could be your lucky treasure.